So hello friends, in the last class we have dealt with the very definition of limits, what is limit is about, and what are left hand limit, what is right hand limit. So this class we will be dealing with calculation of limits. So calculation is of limits are particularly divided into three parts, where it is the first part is algebraic limits. The second part will be limits of polynomials. Third part, which will be limit of non-determined forms. So in these three parts we will be dealing with the chapter limits. So the first part, which is called the algebraic limits or the algebra of limits, in which you will be dealing with some functions of limit, which says if limit extends to a, f of x plus g of x is there. So it may be plus or it may be minus or it may be multiplication. Then limit has a particular format where it enters inside the function, and it will be entering into the bracket, and it will work upon both f of x plus or minus or multiplication and g of x also. So it will act upon both f of x and g of x. And when limit extends to a, f of x by g of x is there, then the same phenomenon will happen, but with a small limitation, and the limitation is very obvious, that this particular part can never be equals to 0. This particular denominator part can never be equals to 0. So this is about the algebra of limits. Then the limit of polynomials. Then we will be dealing with the limits of polynomials. Limit of polynomials is very easy. It says that if limit extends to a of p of x is there, where p of x is a simple polynomial, then the value will be simply p of a. For example, if I ask you that the value of limit extends to 2 of x cube minus 2x square plus 5x, then the value will be equals to, the value 2 will be entering inside the function x, and the value will be equals to 2 cube minus 2 into 2 square plus 5 into 2. Means in the place of a and the place of x, the value 2 will be entering, and the value will be 8 minus 2 into 2 square 8 plus 10, the value will be equals to 10. It's so simple. The finding out the limit of a polynomial function, where the polynomial is a simple straight polynomial or the linear polynomial or quadratic polynomial, whatever it may be, is without any constraints. So it has no constraint in between it. So the next one, what I have told, so let's have some questions what I will be giving you to solve. The value of limit extends to 2x square plus 5x. The value of limit extends to 3x to the power 100 minus 2x to the power 50. So let's solve these two questions, bit 1, bit 2. And this is a homework to you. Okay. So the next phase is limit of non-determined forms. So where does this non-determined form comes from? Okay, we will be dealing that. Before that, you have to write them down. Now, the limit of non-determined forms. Whenever I am saying non-determined forms, it means the form which is not defined. I can say the form which is not defined means the most basic form that is not defined in the form of us, that is the polynomial form where p of x by q of x is there, where q of x is equals to 0, where q of x is equals to 0, that is the most non-defined form that we know up to date. Okay, so now if a limit come in such a way that limit extends to a divided by limit extends to a upon f of x by g of x is there, such that this particular limiting value, if we enter at place of x, a value will be entered, f of a by g of a, then the value will come in form of 0 by 0 or a by 0 or infinity by infinity or infinity by 0 or 0 by infinity. Then all these particular forms are called non-determined forms. So along with this, there are some other forms which are also called undetermined forms or undetermined terms. These particular forms are, I am writing them down: infinity minus infinity, infinity to the power infinity, 1 to the power infinity, this much. So these forms are those forms which are called undetermined forms. So whenever these particular forms come, then we cannot put directly the limiting values at the place of x. So that's why we will be dealing with some kind of operations to solve these particular non-determined forms. Okay, so the first particular operation what we are going to deal with is called a simple operation, that is called factorization. So we will be dealing with some questions. If the function is just like that, limit extends to 2 x to the power x minus 2 into let it be x square minus 4 divided by x minus 2. Now if you want to directly put the value of x2 at the place of x, then the value will be 2 square minus 4 divided by 2 minus 2, which will be give you 0 by 0 format, which is undetermined, So in the place of this undetermined format, you have to go through the particular operation that is called factorization. So over here, if I want to factorize, then I can write limit extends to 2, and if I factorize the numerator, I can write this is x square minus 2 square upon x minus 2, which is simply equals to limit extends to 2 upon x plus 2 into x minus 2 divided by x minus 2. So x minus 2 getting cancelled, and value is simply x plus 2, where it will be equals to 2 plus 2, which is equals to 4. So this is how we dealt with the first kind of operation to solve out the particular undetermined format. The next kind of operation, which is known as using the standard limit formulas, using some standard limits. The next particular operation is using some standard limits. So we will be dealing with some problems just after we cover up all the types of operations, and now we are covering off all the kinds of operation that is present over in the chapter limit. Okay, so using some standard limits, in the first particular type, the type is limit extends to a x to the power n minus a to the power n divided by x minus a equals to n into a to the power n minus 1. You have to memorize this particular formula. So this is a standard limit which you are going to use over some problems. So let's check how this particular formula will be used for some problems. Let's take the first question as limit extends to 2x to the power 10 minus 1024 divided by x minus 2. Now I can observe that this is equals to limit extends to 2. Yes, at first you have to check. If you put the 2 value over here and 2 value over here, this will come in the form of 0 by 0, which is nothing but the undetermined format. So when this comes in undetermined format, then you have to go for any special operation. So out of the special operation, the second operation will be applicable over here, in which the x to the power 10 minus 2 to the power 10 is present over here, and x minus 2 is present over here. Look over here, x tends to a, x tends to 2. X to the power n minus a to the power n. So the a value is 2. So x to the power 10 minus 2 to the power 10 divided by x minus a. Over here x minus 2 is present. That's why the value is in the format of this formula. So the answer will be n into a to the power n minus 1. And value is 10. So the answer will be n into a to the power n minus 1, which is nothing but 10 into 2 to the power 9. Or I can say 10 into 512, which will be 5120 over here. So after this, let's solve another question just like this. I hope you have written down all this much. Let's solve another question and we will end the session with this particular question. So the same kind of question, and the question right over here, limit extends to 2. Let's do not give any other numbers. X to the power 10 minus 1024, x to the power 5 minus 32. Now you can easily get that x to the power 10 minus 2 to the power 10 is present over here, and x to the power 5 minus 2 to the power 5 is present over here. But the value is not in the format of x to the power n minus a to the power n divided by x minus a. So you need x minus a over here. So at first I can write it like this, x to the power 5 minus 2 to the power 5. As because we need x minus a over here, so I am dividing both numerator and denominator by x minus a. And the property of limit, the algebraic property of limit says us that limit has a very wrong quality, and he enters into the home of everyone, means home of the first function and the home of second function. It means limit will enter to the numerator, and also it can enter to the denominator. And now you can observe that this particular format is in this particular way. So now the value for the numerator will be n into a to the power n minus 1 divided by, this is also in that format, so n into a to the power n minus 1. So the value will be 2 to the power 4. So this will be 2 into 2 to the power 9 minus 4, which is equals to 2 into 2 to the power 5. So the value will be 2 to the power 6, which is nothing but 64. So write this down, and with this we think we will be ending this video, and the next session we will be dealing with the standard limits of the trigonometric values. Thank you.